We are live.
Hey everybody, it's Dale Jr. here at the Bojangles studio with my co-host Mike Davis. This is the Ask Junior part of the show. It's good to see everybody and have a bit of a live audience interact with us today. We got a great show for you coming out later this evening. Hopefully it'll be out this evening. Depends on how much editing needs to be done. But Kevin Harvick is the guest. Kevin will be in the studio here in a bit. But we want to thank Xfinity for all they've done for us here at the Bojangles studio and at Dirty Mo Media. They've been a great partner for us. They've been great for the sport. You know, they do a lot with the Xfinity series, and they put a lot into it. And we need partners like that to keep this big machine moving down the street. And they do a great job. I'm a customer using their X5 service, and it's pretty amazing. It's never let me down. And so hope you guys will check that out and look into getting X5 and using Xfinity service yourself. So they're a proud premier partner of NASCAR, and we're thankful for them. You guys have sent your questions in. Thanks for being patient. We were trying to get this podcast out. I got under the weather a little bit, and we want to take the right precautions to keep everybody safe and healthy throughout the holidays so they can be with their families. And we're all good to go. And so Leah's compiled your questions that you sent to Xfinity Racing on Twitter, and we're going to get to them right now.
First question from Robert. What's your opinion on the new practice and qualifying procedures for next season?
Well, that's, it's hard to have an opinion till you see it live. So I want to be, patient and try not to jump to conclusions, I guess. I think we all have an idea of how we'd like this to go. And we want it to be compelling. We want it to be fun and interesting. We want it to be free of gimmicks and drama and just be all about being the fastest car and going out there and setting a lap and putting yourself in the field. And you also want to see guys practicing, right, so we can see how these cars react around each other. And that's a big question right now as to how the next gen's going to race in a pack, right, or a race around cars or behind cars, in front of cars and all that. So hopefully we get to see some practice where guys are on the track together and we learn a little bit as viewers what the car is going to be doing in the race. And, I think it's great that we're going to have some content, some on-track activity and some things happening during the weekend, whereas we've been just showing up and running the race. I miss having practice. I miss having qualifying. I know a lot of people can take it or leave it. Even some of my own colleagues that I work with aren't quite sure whether it's necessary or that it's needed. But practice for me builds a bit of a storyline leading into the race and gives us an idea of who might be quick, who might surprise, who might run poorly that we thought was going to run great, right? So those are storylines that are developing during practice. So it'll be good to have that happening again, whereas before just showing up as a broadcaster and dropping the green, you really have a hard time telling you, the viewer at home, what to expect and who might have a great run today that we usually wouldn't keep our eye on. So practice and qualifying is a great thing. Hopefully it's it's interesting and develops some great storylines and the teams hopefully take advantage of it.
Next question from Mark Rennie. What are your thoughts on the latest NASCAR news regarding Nashville Fairgrounds that came out yesterday?
Yeah, so we've all been following along, at least I have, with the Nashville Fairgrounds and the progress of trying to sort of get that racetrack in the right hands so that the facility itself, the physical structure can stay modern, continue to be upgraded. The track has, kind of struggled to be able to maintain, do the general maintenance that needs to be done at a place like that, a facility like that. So while it's functioned and there have been races there and they've been racing and doing well and it's still got a great community supporting it and a lot of racers still showing up and competing at the track. The track itself, the physical racetrack itself, could use a bit of a facelift. So it's been my interest to find a way for Marcus Smith and Bristol Motor Speedway and that group to gain some control over the future of the racetrack, because I know that they will put and invest the money needed into the track to get it to where it needs to be, so it's a first-class facility. So that's really the big box that I really hope to get checked, and it seems like that's happening. I know nothing about what that means for NASCAR, whether that means a truck date, a Xfinity date, or a Cup date. I don't know anything about the conversations and the potential of when that could happen, but I do know that in the hands of Marcus Smith and his team and Bristol Motor Speedway, that corporation, I do know that this racetrack will be in better shape physically, and will get the upgrades and the improvements needed to continue. We have to remember that a few years ago that the community voted to preserve this racetrack. It was set to be demolished as they were building the soccer stadium. They were going to just wipe it off the map and use that land to build out whatever they had planned for the soccer stadium and whatever footprint that had. So the community saved this racetrack, but more needed to be done as far as what the track physically looks like, and how the track kind of maintains itself, how it makes money, and how to be able to take any kind of profit and turn that around and reinvest into the facility. So that was kind of the missing piece of the puzzle, and now that seems to be getting shored up, and I'm telling you, man, this place is in great hands. It's here to stay, and now it's going to be in great shape going forward. And hopefully that does mean that we'll see some Cup racing there at some point down the road. I know there's a lot of things moving around with Marcus and his team acquiring Dover Motorsports, which is Dover's racetrack, and also Nashville Super Speedway. Those are some great racetracks. They also hold some dates that are pretty valuable. And so I don't know really how all that plays into this, but certainly it has to have some sort of factor into the storyline or factor into the future of the Fairgrounds. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I think it's a time. It's a moment to celebrate the future of this racetrack, and I think a lot of people that race there and enjoy going there have to be extremely happy with this news.
Next question from Ryan Johnson. He says, I'm currently watching through your 1998 Busch Series Championship winning season on YouTube, and I just watched you win your first race at Texas. I never realized you won with a last lap pass. Do you have any favorite or notable memories from that day?
Well, in the middle of that race, or early in that race, got a little contact with somebody in turn 3 and 4, I think, and developed a left front tire rub and had to come down pit road. And I just remember, like, the day was kind of spiraling in the wrong direction, and we were doing okay. We had a good second place finish at Vegas, and I think we'd ran pretty good at Bristol, run second to Sadler, I think. So I mean, I was starting to finish races and get a decent result, but that was that day was not going in the right direction, and somehow or another, we got the track position back. I don't know if we drove back through the field. I can't really remember exactly how we acquired all that track position. And then late in the race, I think we had better tires than Nemechek, and we weren't. I don't know if we were quite as good as Sadler. He as you're watching that last lap, he gained so much through turn 3 and 4. I was pretty conservative with my car through that corner, but he was probably just a bit better than we were, but didn't have any more laps to try to get to us. So it'd have been interesting, I think, if we'd had a couple more laps with Elliott closing in. But it was just I'm just emotional, man. I remember I still have that trophy, obviously, and it was a very, very. It was we win that first Xfinity race. The way I looked at it, my career was I just need to win one. If I can just win one, I think that they'll hang on to me, right? That'll put belief in everybody that everybody that matters, that maybe I can do this, right? And I just wanted to secure that job, right? Get that job security. And you want to, when you go to work, you want to do something that sort of people go, well, we can't lose him. He's an asset, right? And so I felt like winning a race was going to do that for me. And I didn't want to work a real job. I'd worked real jobs. I wanted to race for a living, right? I grew up dreaming of racing for a living, and getting that first win in my mind was going to lock me in. I was going to be a career racer. Whether I was going to be a winner or not, I don't know. But just getting that first win was probably going to be something that would keep me in the driver's seat for the rest of my life, or the rest of my career. And it did. So it was a pretty big day.
Next question from Red Kip. If you could see a crossover weekend anywhere in the world between NASCAR and Formula One, where would it be and why? This is, of course, hypothetical, and money and logistics do not matter.
Wonderful.
My gosh. I don't know. Watkins Glen jumps out for some reason. I don't know how F1 would feel about coming back to the Glen, but I think the trouble with a deal like that, I guess so when you talk about having companion races, it's kind of like having a concert. Somebody has to be the headliner, right? And both bands think they're the top band, right? And so nobody wants to open for the other. And if you're the first race, then you're looked as maybe the lesser of the two, right? So the egos of the series between NASCAR and IndyCar or F1 or whoever has these companion events, you have to put those aside. And I think in this situation, for an F1 NASCAR doubleheader to ever happen, no way ever is F1 going to be second fiddle. They're never going to be the opening act. Not going to happen. So NASCAR would have to be willing to, I think, be that opening act. And I think that would be okay. I think the Glen would be a pretty cool place to see the F1 guys try to race and go around the boot and all that good stuff. So I don't know.
Next question from Dan Aldrich. What is one non-racing skill you want to learn or accomplish that's on your bucket list?
Oh, non-racing skill?
Yeah, non-racing.
Playing the guitar. I was just talking to my wife about this the other day. It was a fun conversation, but she wasn't too she wasn't too into it. I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, there's one thing that I've always wanted to do that I've never done, and I wish I would have done. I wish I would have set time aside to take guitar lessons. And I have some friends that play professionally, or they're musicians or singers or whatever, and there are times when they'll pull out a guitar and play a song, and just around the house or on vacation or whatever. And I'd love to be able to just compliment whatever they're doing, right? And or if you had a buddy that could play, if you could sit down and play together, right? So when I was younger, I used to play the drums. I do not know how. I used to be able to play. Do not know how to play anymore. I mean, if I sat down and spent 3 or 4 weeks, I probably could get back to it. But it's not like, I don't think I could do it. So, but what I mentioned that because I used to play with a guy who played the guitar. It was so fun. We played Smashing Pumpkins and Stone Temple Pilots and Pearl Jam and all those type of songs way back in the late 90s is kind of when I was really into it. And he was pretty good, and I felt like I was okay, and we were good enough that when we would play, we'd get done and go like, dang, yeah, that was really awesome, right? It was so fun. And I regret never really sitting down and just putting the time aside to try to learn how to play the guitar, because I think that would be really personally rewarding. to pick up that instrument and play it. You know, could you imagine, Mike? Just picking up a guitar and playing a song.
You'd be the life of the party. There'd never be a dull time because you could always spice it up if you feel like it needs a little pepped up. Just grab the guitar and start strumming.
Yeah. So I think that I was ready for you. You had a tough question. You had a tough one there.
I didn't think you had a chance to answer that one.
I thought Junior is the guitar guy at the party now.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd be that guy. I don't know if I'd have the confidence to be like, yeah, I'm going to pull it out and start and play a song in front of everybody. Yeah, check this out, y'all. I think I'd be more like just with a buddy or playing by myself or whatever, you know.
All right, next question from Joel. What is the coolest sponsor perk you've ever received besides free beer from Budweiser? Apparently that one doesn't count.
Well, the coolest one is in 1998. We won the Xfinity Series championship, and Chevrolet, Dad, it was like middle of December, maybe a little bit after that, but Dad called me up and it's like 10 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, come over to the shop and meet me in the grand room, whatever we called that. I can't remember what it was, but that big middle room with all the cars sitting in there. He said, meet me in there, put on some nice clothes, put on a collared shirt. All right. So I go in there, and there's a red Corvette parked in the room and a couple of Chevy execs, and they were gifting me a 99 red Corvette for winning the championship. I couldn't believe it. I was blown away. I still have the car. My mom drove it a bunch. And it's parked in her garage still over at her house. Willie keeps it cleaned up. And the thing ain't worth $20,000 today. Those cars didn't hold their value, but it's just I don't know. I've gotten cool things for wins and things like that since, but that was like the first. Holy smokes! I can't believe you're giving me this car. I'm unreal. And so that was one I'll never forget. Yeah, that's a pretty cool deal.
All right, one more question from Squirrely Canadian. If you could run one race over again from your whole career, what would it be?
One race. Man, I don't know. That's tough. That's a great question. Probably the 2004 Daytona 500. Winning the Daytona 500 is an incredible feeling, and there's so much. Winning your first, obviously, giant sense of relief to be able to say, I've done that, and I'm going to have that trophy, and I'm going to go through all the things that happen to the drivers when they win that race. They go on a media tour and do all kinds. I mean, you're really celebrated. Your life changes, right? And I remember running that race, the old wore-out track, cars sliding around, tons of fun. And me and Tony Stewart were on a different pit cycle than everybody else. I don't know why nobody else picked up on it, but the way we were pitting, we were extending our lead every time we'd cycle through a green flag pit stop. I think we were coming to pit road earlier and getting back on the racetrack, and the speed from the new tire for a couple laps would give us, maybe a second, and each time we kept doing that, we kept spacing ourselves out from the rest of the pack, the battle from 3rd to 10th or whatever. And so at the end of the race, it's unlikely to see it today, but at the end of this race in 2004, when pack racing was a thing still, it's me and Tony Stewart. And I think Dave Blaney was mixed up in there with the 22 car and kind of lost the draft late, but handling was so important. You could kind of break away from guys if you wanted to. And I passed Tony by myself, really, because Kurt Busch, a lap car, was kind of mixed up in there with us, and he was mad at me because I gave him a tire rub. We had contact in the tri-oval early in the race, and it gave him a tire rub, and he had to come pit road and change his tire on the green, and he lost a lap, and he ran a lap down the whole race and was mad about that. And so at the end of the race, he come over the radio and said, I'm helping this 20. And Tony Jr.'s, I think, relays that information to me. He's like, 97 ain't going to help you, all right, just so you know. And there's some great YouTube video of my own board, you riding on board with me for the entire last several laps. And I had to figure out how to lift and drop back and create runs, get back in the gas and draft up to Tony, and had to figure out how to make my car produce enough energy to get a run on Tony to be able to get to his quarter panel and side draft him and try to pass him, right? And so you can watch that in-car, me using the throttle a little bit and backing up to the car behind me. And even though the 97 didn't want to help me, finding a way to get some energy off the nose of his car. So I was very, obviously, explaining it to you right now, I was really proud of that. I didn't think that I was going to make the pass. I didn't think it was possible to make the pass. And I don't know why Tony didn't defend it more than he did, because we get I'm side by side with him through the travel into turn 1, through turns 1 and 2, and I kind of back. He's kind of going forward, and I'm going to come off of turn 2, and we're separating ourselves. And as we're coming off of turn 2, he's going to have momentum, and I'm going to try to slow him down. And we made a little contact, and the side draft starts working for me. As I pull forward and move down, he didn't come down to side drive me. It's the Daytona 500. I don't know why in the world he didn't go, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna side draft you and slow you down and keep this battle side by side, right? And eventually Kurt would come forward and push him. I don't know why all that didn't go down, but we clear him, and then we won the race. So there's your answer.
All right, that's all for today, guys.
That's a lot of great stuff, man. I always say this, but I want to thank you guys for supporting us. Really enjoy these conversations that we have and the great questions you guys ask, and I hope that you enjoy the answers. Ask Junior is one of my favorite parts of the show. It'll be back next year when we resume recording the Dale Junior Downloads sometime in early spring or late winter, whenever it is we want to start. But it'll be difficult for me to be patient to get this going again. I've enjoyed this season. I've enjoyed the feedback that we get from the show, and the momentum and popularity that the show is gains throughout the year is a lot of fun. And I hope you guys have enjoyed the guests we've had this year. Kevin Harvick's going to be a great one today. And we'll get kick-started next year and do it all over again. So hope everybody has a great holiday break, a great Christmas, and a new year. It's Mike Davis's birthday, TJ Majors' birthday, Danny Earnhardt Sr.'s birthday. There's 3 people I know that it's their birthday. So wish them all a happy birthday, and we'll see everybody soon.